Every 2 weeks, another human language dies. Over the course of history, we've had 31,000 different languages. Estimates are there are about 7,000 of those languages left. About 3,000 of the 7,000 languages that remain are considered endangered. By most experts' opinion, 50% of what we have remaining will be extinct by the year 2100. So what? Wouldn't it be easier if we could all just speak the same language and then we could all understand each other better, right? Well, not necessarily. In 2019, Washington State University did a study to find out if the brain activity was improved or decreased after individuals spent time in different cultures that spoke different languages. What they found was that comprehension is increased when immersed in a different culture, in general, and specifically to that language also. It stands to reason then that if language comprehension increases, then the comprehension of that culture and of different groups, different individuals would be increased as well. Another Stanford research paper found that language and speech patterns can lead to a greater understanding of behavior in both individuals and groups. They also found that languages can either unify or polarize groups of people. It was most often found in political groups. An interesting study by a professor in 2019 from the University of Washington found that college students could comprehend at a basic level sentence structure and other basic phrases from the Finnish language or the language of Finland in a 2-week period. That same professor, by happenstance, was moved to Southern California, where she could perform the same research and did to students that came from multilingual homes rather than monolingual homes. What they found was that the students were able to much greater comprehend the language offered within that 2-week time period than the students who came from monolingual homes. This map represents all of the world languages. As you can see, green, yellow, and red are all endangered. As you can also see, those different colors mostly fall along the equator, where some of the most complex, diverse populations live, as it's the most comfortable for humans to migrate to. The danger in losing these languages, these endangered languages, is that the languages are immersed in the culture. It's such an important, vital part of each one of these cultures. And if we take away the language, we take away a very important part of that culture. As Europeans colonized in the late 1700s in the Americas, they began forcing cultural assimilation on students by teaching English only in the schools for all age groups. These two Arapaho men have a granddaughter named Alexa Oldman. She quoted by saying, "It's important for not only me but all other Native Americans to revitalize the language because that is part of who we are. Our ancestors fought to keep the traditions alive and try to speak the language, even though they were reprimanded for it. These two Arapaho men are one of only 1,000 people that still speak the language." The Uyghur are a minority group in China. They were incorporated into the Xinjiang province in 1949, but there has been internal conflict between the majority and the Uyghur people. In the last decade, the government and the authorities have started to crack down on the use of this language in any public place, as it's not considered a national language. After the culture was incorporated into Mandarin-speaking schools, the teachers and the historians were detained and no longer allowed to teach the language. Although there are still 10 million speakers left, this government is no longer allowing the language to be spoken in public places, and any group of 5 or more people are restricted to only being at the same place for 2 hours at a time. These kind of restrictions on culture stifle the diversity in any culture building in people groups.
Един език никога не е достатъчен.
Eén spraak is nie genoeg.
Una sola lingua non è mai abbastanza. Una sola lingua non è mai abbastanza.
For my final slide, I have 3 sound clips. Each is from an endangered language, and each is saying the phrase, "One language is never enough." And I agree. Thank you.